Enjoying the exhibit? All right, playtime's over. Get to cover.
Come on, move it!
There you are.
Psst, what are you looking at?
My name's Michael Chu. I'm a senior game designer on Overwatch, and my primary focus on the game is story and writing.
Cool. We've all learned about Overwatch some time ago through an amazing trailer. What do you think the trailer conveys gameplay-wise? Are there any things you're really proud of in Overwatch that you think everyone should have learned then?
So I think the cinematic trailer is amazing. I love it. It was all about sort of introducing this new universe to everyone. Blizzard hasn't done a new IP in, I think, the 17 years is what's thrown around. You know, we've had Warcraft, Diablo, Starcraft, and those are all really interesting and awesome universes, but we're really excited to show something new. In particular, it's a vision of the future. And when we were thinking about what we wanted to do, looking at Earth in the future, we thought, what about something that was optimistic and forward-looking, and the kind of future that when you're looking around, you're saying, I hope the future turns out that way. That's the world that I want to live in. And specific to the game, because obviously the game is a team-based shooter, a world that I'd want to fight for.
Cool. And did you do any previous projects before this? What's your experience in game design?
Yeah, so I've worked at Blizzard for several years now. I was a designer on World of Warcraft. I did a lot of quest design and also world event design, and I helped out with the garrisons in the most recent expansion, Warlords. I also worked on Diablo 3 for many years on both the original game and Reaper of Souls, and after completing that, I came to work on Overwatch.
And how is that compared to this project? Are there any major differences in working on Overwatch, or what Overwatch is supposed to be compared to the other projects you did?
Well, I think obviously Overwatch is a different type of game. Overwatch is a team-based shooter. I've worked on a lot of role-playing games before. Diablo and Warcraft are both sort of online role-playing games. So that's a big new thing. I think that exploring that sort of new gameplay has been really interesting and a really fun challenge. You know, we're trying to take this genre that everyone on the development team is really passionate about, shooters. We're all big fans, and we're trying to figure out how we can, you know, put our spin on it. And for us, that's getting this cast of heroes, this big cast of heroes who all have these over-the-top abilities and all these amazing kind of things that they can do, and then putting them all together in this sort of game.
What is your company's unique take on, because we know that you guys have adapted other genres, and I think competition is usually afraid that you are doing that. It's like, oh no, they're doing this genre, okay, it's gone, you know, they're doing it, so we better stop. That's the feeling I sometimes get, because you guys nail a genre. How would you say you would nail the kind of shooter that you're making with Overwatch?
So I think the part of the shooter genre that we decided was key to Overwatch and what we want to focus on, the first thing is the idea of team play. So we're not about, you know, deathmatch between players. What we want to do is have a team of 6 players versus a team of 6 players trying to capture objectives, because that focuses your team's sort of strategy and everything. So that was the first thing. We want people to think about playing as a team. And the other thing, like I said, is the heroes. We want these very unique heroes who have unique stories and unique kits and unique abilities, and throwing them together on teams and seeing how they turn out. And I think those are the 2 pillars that we focus on.
Cool. If I would play the game for, let's say, like, I get a couple of friends together, but we're not 6. Like, how is this game gonna like grab me story-wise, or maybe is there like a single player as well, or could you tell me a little bit about that part of?
Right. So we'll have matchmaking and everything. So if you have just a group of 4 of your friends and you play together, you know, you'll be match-made with other players so that you can play the PvP game, you know, against each other and still have an awesome time. It'll do all the stuff like accommodate for skill. You should be getting into good matches. As far as the story, you know, we don't have a specific linear story inside Overwatch. But what we do want to do in the maps and with the characters is sort of give the idea of what the universe is. As you run around, you can read the signs and just experience the surroundings and start to extrapolate things about the game world. Outside of the game, we're doing a lot of things to tell the story of our first new IP in 17 years. So we have a website in which we're doing a lot of sort of in-universe storytelling. For this character that we just announced, Lucio, this is really cool. I think it's awesome. We did this page, which is supposed to be a news report about Lucio's upcoming CD release, and it's full on. It gets into his story. It talks about his world tour, and we have previews of his music. And so we're trying to do things like that to tell a lot of the story. We also have a graphic novel that's coming out, which will explore more of the backstory of the universe, and we just want more and more.
Cool. And for you as a game designer, is there anything specific story-wise? Because I can imagine this is more of a marketing kind of thing that you guys do. Is there anything in the way you want to tell the story that you're really either proud of or that you want to mention? It's like, oh, we did this and I haven't seen maybe any other shooter do it this way, or we're really proud of the way we do it, or could you give an example?
Yeah, well, I think the main thing is what we're making is this, gameplay-oriented PvP team-based shooter, but I think that doesn't mean that the characters can't have really interesting backstories and really interesting things about them, and I think you can see that in the design of the heroes and how they play, and I just think even though we don't have a specific story, there are tons of opportunities for us in the game to bring the world to life.
And does it influence the way I play characters, for instance? Like, am I a better player with a certain, or are my capabilities better if I understand the backstory of a player, or does it make me feel like a better player if are there any story gameplay tied things you want to?
I don't think there are any specific tie-ins like that, but I think there's something about the feeling that you're playing this really cool, well-realized character. It's almost sort of infectious. Like when I'm playing Tracer and she's like, yippee, woo, and, zipping around the map, you kind of get into that groove. It's the same thing with Lucio when he's just skating on the walls and, going around buildings and finding shortcuts, and he's this high-energy, optimistic guy. I feel like, it just kind of synthesizes, and it's great.
Cool. And what's your favorite character? Like, who do you play?
So it's really interesting. Our game is team-based, so you're always able to change your characters to what your team needs. And so I'm sort of a team player. Okay. So I like to fill whatever role's missing. But I also really like to play these characters that they're very different. For example, we have this character Mercy, who is this healer. She has wings and she can fly around the map, and she heals and supports her team. And I love playing her because it almost feels like I'm playing my own game inside the game. Cool. I'm not primarily focused on shooting things. I'm focused on keeping my team going, damage boosting at the right time, and at the same time, she's fragile. She doesn't have a lot of hit points. She's being killed easily, and she's a high-value target for the enemy. So I have this evasion and movement and all this stuff. So I think it's awesome. Cool.
So this is your first new IP, like you just mentioned, and you guys have a long history of doing quite other kind of genres. This is your first shooter. Is there any specific thing that inspired you for Overwatch? Like anything maybe outside of other games you guys played, or maybe out of your projects that you say we figured this works really well in, for instance, the World of Warcraft universe, and really want to get that in a new way in Overwatch, or do you have anything like that?
Yeah, I think the team are huge gamers, obviously. We play all sorts of games, and in particular, we're also huge shooter fans. And I think when we set out to make Overwatch and make this, the Blizzard take on a first-person shooter, I think we looked at a lot of things for inspiration. We looked at other first-person shooters. We looked, we also look at the games that Blizzard makes. We draw tremendous inspiration from Heroes of the Storm, World of Warcraft. So for us, it's really about, this genre that we love, and then seeing what we can do with it and what our own unique take on it is.
And are there any specific things, like maybe, I don't know, the tribes or the like the long lore? Are you planning to go with Overwatch, maybe different Overwatch games, or did you guys keep that in the back of your mind or anything like that?
So right now we're focused on Overwatch. You know, we have to make more heroes, more maps, get all the gameplay fine-tuned. But yeah, I think, you know, this is our new IP, and it's just, we're just so excited to bring it to life. And right now we're focused on the one thing.
Cool. We're really wondering about kind of the esports angle. Is there an esports angle? Because you guys focus on esports a lot with your other titles. How's that for Overwatch?
Yeah, so I think you hit on it. Blizzard is big on esports. If you think back to the early days with StarCraft and the sort of, you know, in those early beginnings of esports, StarCraft was hugely popular.
Yeah.
It was actually something that I was super excited about. I remember when the game was just coming out. So I think that obviously Blizzard is interested in esports, and I think that our game would hopefully be a good fit for esports. You know, right now, the best thing we can do for that is to focus on making sure that the game is balanced, competitive, fun to play, and you know, I can only hope that someday down the road that, you know, we can start to look and support that.